As Ross Clark joins us now. He's got a big piece on page 10 of The Sun. Rachel Reeves' cuts aren't a return to austerity. She needs to act more, not less. This is despite the BBC saying it's a return to austerity, Ross. I mean, for heaven's sake, are you suggesting the BBC have got it wrong?
Good morning, Mike. Yes, it seems that when any government proposes to cut so much as a bean from public expenditure, it gets accused of austerity. Austerity has just become a sort of term for any government policy which involves a deficit of less than £100 billion a year. I mean, look, this is the problem. For 22 years, no government of any colour in Britain has managed to balance the books. It's been piling on debt, every year on year. Situated this year, and for every year in the past sort of 20 years, government's been taking in about £9 in revenue for every £10 it spends. And you can't just go on like that. We've got to a situation now where government's spending over £100 billion a year just servicing debt, on the interest on the debt that it owes. And, something has got to give. And it's no good just sort of, messing about at the edges, sort of removing free tampons from schools or something, which is one of the suggestions which, has been, the government might possibly do this week.
Right.
It's going to require sort of benefits to be frozen for a couple of years, just like tax thresholds have been frozen, including the state pension. I'm afraid it's going to require, that sort of £7 billion a year we spend supporting illegal migrants.
Yes.
That could be chopped, and all round, really, we have got to start living within our means.
Yes.
Because otherwise we end up with national bankruptcy, and Rachel Reeves will be forced, like her predecessor Dennis Healey in the 1970s, to go to the IMF and beg for a bailout.
Well, exactly right. There's plenty of places. Well, exactly. There's plenty of places we could teach them to cut, but of course the bleeding hearts of the BBC and various other charitable groups and all sorts of organisations, which love giving our money away to people, will be bleating and squealing and screaming that, we're horrible, they're nasty, we can't be doing this. People, I mean, look at all the people who are up in arms about some of the benefits that are going to be cut on the basis that, these are people that need their benefits. Well, they don't all need them, because if you took them away, they'd find something to do. They'd probably go and get a job.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the explosion in disability benefits in the past decade.
Yeah.
I mean, ask yourself, do you really think there has been a genuine rise in people who are too sick to work?
Yeah.
We've got a situation, the UK population ought to be healthier and fitter than it's ever been in the past.
Right.
We've got drugs for mental illness have never been better. The physiotherapy has never been better.
Well, we're a much healthier nation than we've ever been as well.
Well, we ought to be, and yet the bill for disability benefits is sort of galloping upwards, and you think, well, hang on, this is not all genuine. There are people playing the system here, and but whenever government proposes to just trim it, just freeze the benefits, just make it a little bit harder to claim them, you get these backbench Labour MPs of accusing Rachel Reeves that you're kicking away the crutches of the disabled and so on. This is what makes it so difficult for a government to sort of balance the books.
Yeah, exactly right. And in the same way that they argue that, the money that we pay to house migrants is saving their lives, and if we didn't do it, they'd all rot and die from, ill health and all the rest of it, is absolutely bonkers mad.
Yeah, I mean, the essential problem we have is that it is politically much easier to spend money than it is to raise it in revenue. And that's why, governments and Tories were just as bad at this, end up running deficits as they sort of, it's easier to cut that little bit of, raise a little bit of, spend a little bit more and raise a little bit less, and,
Yes.
and you end up in this situation. But I say you cannot go on year after year running a deficit. I mean, Gordon Brown, when he became Chancellor 28 years ago, told us he was only going to borrow over the, during the bad times. He was going to balance the budget over the fiscal cycle, as he called it, economic cycle.
Right.
And, he stuck to it for a few years, and then he sort of unleashed the purse strings and ended up spending, borrowing during the good times as well as the bad times.
Well, this is the trouble. It becomes an addiction, doesn't it? Ross, we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thanks very much indeed. Great column in The Sun today, page 10. Rachel Reeves, why she has to cut more and more and more.